everything ready. Okay, let's get going. Good morning, guys. Okay, just real quick. Good morning. This is Simon with Trading Perform Coaching and ToughTrader.com. Quick legal notice. Past performance is not indicative of future results. There's substantial risk to trading derivatives. Please make sure you have a risk trading plan and that you can manage your downside and your upside. Let's see. This is for educational purposes only. I'm basically sharing my trade plan with you. I hope that it helps make you a better trader, but it's important that you take what you like and leave the rest, right? I have no religion about my way being the best way. It's just the best way for me, okay? So let's get started real quick. So number one, and I posted this up on the preview. So guys, real quick, just in the room, mic check. Is the mic working okay? Get rid of this. Where is my Slack channel? There it is. Do I have an okay? Am I okay on the mic, Peter? Or anybody? Maybe I'm not. I'm going to assume I am. Oh, we're good, Mari. Good morning, Mari. Okay, so number one, with regards to yesterday, so I got a message from someone. Actually, we all did because they posted on the general channel. I wanted to address it really quick. Okay, I'll say this again. When we trade inside, completely inside prior day's value, it's choppy and difficult, right? So I say this so that everyone understands. So I quit trading pretty early in the day yesterday. I took one stop in ES and two small stops in copper, and I stopped trading. When things aren't working right for me, right, I stop really fast. Like usually my first trade in copper and my first trade in ES are money, right? But when I notice things aren't going quite right, when I'm not having the rhythm that I usually have on the read, it tells me one of two things from a trading purpose. Either I'm off, right, or the market's off, or both of us are off. Either way, doesn't matter, right? As long as something's off, hit the sidelines, man. It's all right. There's no penalty for doing it. There's no penalty for hitting the sideline. Let me turn this off. There we go. There's no penalty for hitting the sideline, and there's all the benefit in the world for doing it, right? It gives you time to observe. So if there's a profitable trade, paper trade it, mentally trade it, look at it and go, hey, I can't stress how important this is. Look at the market and go, hey, I don't understand, right, exactly what's going on here. Let me reset. Let me do this in a way that I can understand what needs to get done so that I'm not confused moving forward, right? I think it's very, very important that people get that read. And I want to make sure that I did post the link, right? Just people are not here. Let me turn that off real quick. For the alarms. There we go. Okay. So that's what I did yesterday. I thought it was difficult. Turned out it was a new situation. I didn't do my job completely because I didn't know the president was speaking today for econ. So let's just jump in really quick, right? We have a Fed day. It's a big deal, right? They may be raising interest rates. They may not. I don't know what the impact of that is. I know it draws out OTF. I don't like trading during OTF. So we have no, let's see, 10 a.m. we have new home sales. That'll have almost zero impact. Crude oil inventories at 10:30 a.m. I may go play with crude oil a little bit just to get the rhythm right and take a look, since I just want to see how it reacts given the deltas that we're using. I want to see how it trades. And then 2 o'clock, the FOMC econ projections, the statement, federal funds rate, and then 2:30 FOMC press conference, right? I'm not trading any of that. Just someone else can have it, someone who's smarter than me. I don't like trading during that time period, and I'm not doing it. That's all there is to it. I may or may not be here. I'm not sure, but I have no intention of clicking the mouse in any way, shape, or form, right? Why? I don't like getting run over. So that's my 2 cents. I don't need it on days like today. So now let's talk about what we're looking for. The first thing I'm noticing is we're opening right inside of prior day's value. So I'm telling you right now, I want to trade outside. I want to find positions here. I want to find positions here, either short or long. I don't have a religion about that, right? But I want to get out of this area because this is total chop and balance, right? If you look overnight, and you pull that down, so this is yesterday in Asia, right? You'll notice this 29.18, the bottom of this range. I want to show you this. This was very interesting, and Karen got this long last night. So if you look at this trade, let's expand this again. If you look at this trade, 29.20 was the bottom of this range, right? So look how we put the trade together. It's just really straightforward. 29.20 is the bottom of that range. Just like where I said, this is where I want to find a trade, okay? If you look underneath that 29.20, biggest hands down delta of the day came at the close, 61.31. Close above, off we go. First of all, we haven't beat that delta in any way, shape, or form. Secondly, if we look pre-market, just like yesterday, right? And it's our biggest delta pre-market, came all the way the heck back over here at prior to London Open. See how there's just been no commitment one way or the other? It's because we've been in a tight trading range. We just came up, actually I stand corrected, with our biggest delta right there. Okay, so if we were to open right now, what I would say is, if I was aggressive on the short side and I was comfortable shorting, I'm tagging this bar. That is my entry, and this is my stop, 2 ticks behind, with an attempt to roll to the downside. Conversely, if I get over this guy, enter on top, half back. So I'm going to enter here. Roughly, the bar is going to end up here. The other half is going to be on the top of this bar. My stop's going to be 2 ticks below, right? Now, I'm not crazy about the short yet because we haven't broken down. If we flip back on ES and we look at how this looks, right? So number one, here, let's erase this for a second and give you critical levels. So number one, look at the big picture. So first thing you say in your head is, it's not a bear market, right? We are trading quite smartly. There we go. Hold on one second. We're trading quite smartly to the upside. The trend is up, right? You'd at least want something. And again, this is just for pure emotional regulation, right? You need a break of that trend line, which means you got to get below 28.80. It's a good chunk of distance away. Secondly, here's clearly your last swing low right here, right? I'd want to see a break and a close below that swing low. Why do I go through this every morning or look at it? It's because I've got to remember that responsive buyers have an easier time than responsive sellers. When you're not as experienced, you look at this and go, but look, it's in a channel. It's got to be easy to short, right? This is essentially the channel up, right? Topped out of it, but that's been primarily the channel that we're in and going top to bottom. So you notice a couple things. First of all, we're at the top of that channel. The range gets very narrow on top. We're in the top third of the range. The range gets very narrow. It's very common to have these tiny little ranges on top and get the ranges to expand below. Just like up here, ranges get narrow, expand below. That means if you trade ES and you don't trade anything else, no, it's going to be slower. It's going to be grindier, right? I'm addressing two challenges that we have in the room simultaneously. So number one, buyers are in control. We're at the top of the channel. You're correct. We could travel down to the bottom of the channel, right? Short is still harder than long. I'm okay with short if you're okay with taking the stop and it's part of your process and you're consistent in taking the entry, the exit, and the stop, right? Number two, the rotation size and the speed of the market matters, okay? I'm going to switch gears here real quick. When you look in the morning yesterday, I'm going to switch this so you can see this really quick. take just a second. Okay, I'm going to bunch this all up. Look over the last couple days. It's been slow. Look at the open. Look how slow and grindy that is. See that? That's pretty hard to trade. All of that's pretty hard to trade. If your P&L has been down in ES, okay, those are small range bars and there's no range covered on it. Now, I want to show you the difference. See that right there? That's the 18th. Look at the range in the first half hour. Look at the rotation, counter rotation back up, and look at the extensions. This is back to the 18th, right? This is back to the 17th. Look at the range in the first hour. Range, counter rotation. See how much easier it is to find a trade in this scenario where you can actually get your 1 and 2 points, right? And even if you, and so I wanted to talk to somebody in this room who wasn't Randy, right, where we were struggling. When I open this date up, right, and I come back and look at my trades out of the gate, and I come through here. Now I'm just going to spot this, so I might miss one, but instantly I see this 1674, right? I see this 2856. I know I have to get above the 2856 becomes the key number, right? So you'll notice in that 2856 and this 25, these are essentially in the same delta, same size, right? I've got to get above or below that to break out. Notice, first close underneath, we roll down, backside test, rejects. See that? Backside test rejects, and we roll lower. Look at the size of the range on the rejection. This actually comes right up to where you want it to reject at 29.05. Now look at the push to the downside, right? All the way down to 28.94 from 29.05. 10 points, right? When we look at the bottom and we're trying to figure out, well, how would I know when to go long, right? So watch what happens at the bottom here. Look at your delta at the low. Biggest, I believe that is the biggest positive delta and certainly the biggest delta from this roll down. Close above. Now look at your extension up. So even though I'm doing this on YouTube, I'm talking to the guys that I'm coaching specifically. 2 conversations came up with 2 different people. So the first thing, I spoke to someone who's trading 1 contract yesterday, and I asked him, and he said he's having a very frustrating month trading 1 contract. And he goes, and my numbers, Simon, don't come anywhere close to matching your numbers. And I asked him to go back and run it with 2 contracts and looking at his available extensions via the maximum favorable extension, not while he was in the trade, but the actual maximum favorable excursion that the trade itself offered had he stayed in the trade. What was that? If you could somehow maximum exit at the peak, what would that be, right? And his numbers went from slightly down on the month to up. I forget what he told me, but I think it was 17 points, I want to say. Originally it was 41, but then he had to make an adjustment. It was 17 points, right? And then what I said to him, I'm not going to say who it is. What I said to him is I said, hey, guys, I said, hey, look, here's the deal. When you're in the hole, look at all this thing this market offers, right? Look at everything that's in here. What was the high of the day? Come all the way back up here, 29.08. Look at the low, 28.92. Almost, it's a 15-point stretch to the downside. Your big delta comes in at the low, not the middle of the range where you're trying to figure it out. Your delta comes in at the low. So I'm going into a coaching mode here for just a second. A, because I have time, and B, because it's Fed day. It's really important. See this day right here? Here, we're going to circle it so I can find it really easily. There we go. Now I want to come back. Okay. When my biggest delta yesterday lands right in the middle of the range, not at the low, not at the high, right? It was at the low. We got above. Okay. So secondly, there was a confusion because on some people's, so everyone's data is going to be a little bit different, even on the same service. In this case, this was a relatively large delta for some people. For other people, it wasn't. It didn't come anywhere close on mine. This was the only delta. So if you look, this is the close above. It never backside tested, and it went. What's the problem? Unfortunately, by the time it hit, right, by the time you hit that, you are in, I can't believe this doesn't have a, give me just 1 second, guys. There we go. Okay. By the time this hits, yes, I'm drawing this in a sloppy fashion. Okay. This delta, right, is right in front of your 50-60 retrace, right? So remember our rules for 50-60 retrace. I've been doing this particular rule since we have started, and you've got to integrate, right? It's a slow, grindy day. We rolled down. We came back to the 50-60. We stopped. Everyone who shorted the 50 retrace thinking we're going to roll to the downside, they all get stopped. Then we turn back around. We roll to the downside and come down and set a new low. Then we backside test this 3K delta right here. I think we missed by a tick and roll to the downside. What's the problem with that? It's a relatively narrow range. I understand it was 10 points. We didn't have a big stretch away from back into a key area. If you take this trade, right, what are you contending with? VWAP, right? Top of the range. And if you come back and look over here, you're dealing with, on top of everything else, let's expand this out, value area high yesterday and prior day's point of control. Really, this sucks. Hold on a second. Control bar 1, window, control bar 1. Okay. That's value area high. That's the point of control from the prior day, 29.25, 29.26. So when we come back over here and we're trying to trade in that area, this delta is setting up. Here's 29.25. Here's 29.26. That's value area high. So if you erase all this, right, and I'm going to do that right now to reset it. Look at everything that's working against you to make that trade work, right? Here's where you are. There's your 3K delta right here. Where'd it go? I lost it. There's your 3K delta. There is your close above with the point of control above. Into value area high, into the prior day's point of control, into VWAP, into the 50-60, right? That's a lot of crap to take a trade right there, right? And then when it comes back underneath, of course you would expect that to possibly break because this VWAP is trending down, right? You failed to hold above, right? And this all set up right into the mid on a day where there's no energy and no balance. And on top of that, this was a return to the scene of the crime. And we just ended up chopping around it all afternoon. And then prior to that bar, right? Prior to that bar, that's what the PA looks like. There's no counter rotation. So why am I showing you that? Because if I come back over here and I go, what works, what pays me? Okay. So one more piece. If you just traded support resistance zones, this day worked out much easier, but we don't. We trade order flow in the room, right? So if we come back over to this day, where's the big, oh, I erased it. Here, we'll just choose any day. Here, we'll just choose this day randomly. There's clearly rotation there, right? Okay. So look at the keys that we have coming off this day, and we'll just start here. This is the 7th, right? Just a couple days ago. When we're rolling down, first of all, there's a 2290. I see that right at 10 o'clock, right? That's my biggest delta. I'm just going to eyeball it based on what we have here and not going to do through and do the whole thing. Notice at the bottom, I don't get the biggest delta, right? That's all the way back up here, right? But I do get a pretty big delta right here at 22.27. So important. So now we have two pieces. We have this piece up here. We have this piece over here. I've got to get above this and break. Clearly, we don't get above, and I don't have the biggest delta going into the low, right? Market's doing its job. This is easy for us to trade. Lo and behold, we get a 2K delta right into the low. Now, it's not the biggest delta, but it's a pretty damn big delta that comes in at the low, and that 2K delta is breaking the low of the day, right? That is an attempt. Think about that, right? That is an attempt to break the low and roll lower. Someone pounded that, right? You got to actually visually see that someone came in at the low and said, I'm breaking it. I'm sending this thing to hell in a handbasket. I'm going to hit it with everything I got, and everyone's going to follow behind me, and this thing's going to roll down 10 points. That's what that bar says, okay? You cannot mistake what that bar means if you're going to trade order flow. I understand it's not the biggest delta, but this is a big push. As soon as we close above this guy, right here, point of control, bar above. If you want to be uber aggressive, you can use this bar. It's this bar for me, right? Look at the response to the market to the upside. As soon as you close above, right, push immediately. When we come back against him on the backside test of that guy, remember, he made a huge push. Look at the response. See that? That's your initial, that's your backside test. Very large delta at the low of the day, right? And now when you come over here and look to the left, right, this is what had to be broken. First time above fails, second time above. So follow me, right? Close above first time, half, you get the long, you push. We come back underneath, we chop around that 2000 delta, but this is the first close above that big delta. Roll all the way back to test the delta below, right? Come back up, backside test to 2000, reject off of them, come back down for another test. Second close above, quick backside test onto the bottom of that 2000, close above, and then we push eventually up to 2078. Then you get into the last hour where it's cowboy time, right? It's hard to read that. What my whole point behind this is you're looking for, if you're trading order flow, right? What you need is that big delta pushing into the low or near the low to help you get that trade. You want it away from the 50-60. So on this day, right, when we come back over here on this day, and I go, oh, there's my biggest delta of the day, and I pull up my 50-60 back from here. Again, I'm not going to draw it scientifically, but right to here. And now I take my long right here. I go, oh, look, I'm long, right? I'm long 20, 70 and a quarter, right? My first hurdles is 72 to 73 and a quarter. Okay, that's fine. But more importantly, VWAP is up here at 75. So if I'm taking 70 and a quarter, I know I actually have the potential to stretch to 75. If I get lucky and we go back to the mid, I'm talking about 76 to 77 to 76 to 78. And if we stretch and squeeze all the shorts out of the mid, I'm looking at 79 to 81. Now, it didn't make it to any of that, but the potential is there. And that's where you look at your trade and go, hey, I'm doing my half, or I'm doing my half size, right? Then it came back for the backside test. I'm risking 2 points. So when I'm back over here at the low, retesting that trap, right? I'm risking 2 points of risk for potential of 78. That is a 4-to-1 RR, right? For a hypothetical 78 that I could get. And if I push that out, right, you will see that that's exactly where we pushed at the end of the day, was right into that 50-60, and it made it to 77.50. That is a good RR. That is how you get your stretches off the low. And that's how you, when you look at the market, you go, oh, there's big rotations. Someone panicked at the low and got out at the low and trapped themselves off the bottom, and we're back above. And they're going to play games with you and try to shake you out. But eventually, this was your upside target, was at 78. We came within a hair of reaching it. So if you put on your size, if you're one contract trader, you have a hard time here, right? Because you're trying to balance where to take the trade, when to exit it. But if you're a 2 contract trader, you take one here, stopped. You come back down to retest and you go, you know what? I'm testing against the guy who panicked at the low. I can put on two contracts. I put on 2. I risk 2.5 points, right? So now my risk is roughly $125 a contract. I get my first 2 points, right? So I take off. Now I have it. If I get stopped on this trade, I'm basically risking 2 ticks on the whole trade. And then I look at that trade and go, where are we likely to go? We're likely to go back to the 50-60. Why? Because the market does it all the freaking time, guys. It comes back to the 50-60 if you have stretch and you have range. So that tells me immediately, if I have a small account, what am I looking for, right? I'm not looking to be perfect on every day. What I'm looking for, because I have to make money, right? What I am looking for is for someone to panic at or very close to the lows, trap themselves, preferably break the low would be even better, right? Close back in, and now I'm going to work against that guy all day long. And where am I going to work? For an attempt back to the mid or higher. That's going to be my ultimate goal. That's how that works for my 2 cents. We just opened. Let's go see where our big deltas are pre-market. I'll lay that out for you. Let me reload here real quick. Easy evening session. 20 days back should load pretty quickly. There we go. So pre-market, we have this is still your biggest guy right here. you are aggressive and you're comfortable on the short side, that's your short. Stop 2 ticks above. In order to push higher, you have to close above this guy, half back, or just let end. If you're not comfortable, my suggestion is burn the first half hour and then come back and get reset once you have all the econ out of the way. You usually don't lose much by not trading the first half hour. So it's only if you feel like you have to trade or if you're comfortable. I'll wait for a stretch or set up one way or another to get the trade off. So I don't have anything else to point out outside of that. Market looks okay. I'm going to go take a quick look at NQ and ES. Did not reset my NQ chart yesterday. Hold on a sec. So NQ is opening up and driving. Again, we've closed near the high 2 days in a row on NQ, and it's up above both days high. It's above Monday's high, and it's above Tuesday's high. Right? NQ looks okay. Here, I'll show this to you really quick. There was almost no changes to the chart, and the reason for that is, here we go. So I have no resistance points there because it is begging to go back to last week's high and then above that. Right? Here's the all-time high, right, on NQ. We're a good ways off of it, right? It's 76.07 to 77.23. It looks like it's a good ways, but really a 100-point up day puts us right back at the high. This is last week's high. We obviously have to pierce that, but I don't have any significant resistance between here and that all-time high. And remember, ES has already crossed its all-time high. So remember, originally NQ was the leader. Now ES is caught up. My guess is, because we're in a rotational bull market, is that now maybe ES spends a little bit of time going sideways and NQ plays catch up, right? By the way, that has a potential for an open drive higher on that right there. There's nothing bearish about NQ. That is an uptrend right there. Watch out for the chop that we got in the first half hour. Again, that was pretty wicked series of chops. The market was on hold. The market's not on hold today. We have data at 2 o'clock. That's what the market's playing for, right? If you look at ES, I simplified the chart when I posted it, right? There's your key levels for today, right? And you'll notice we opened right into the support zone, 22 to 2050, right? We've driven straight out of it. Here's value area high, consolidated above value area high. This is 2930, 2931 is your first upside target. You really want to treat all of this as a zone. So really, I would say from 2930 to 2932, that whole thing is a resistance point. You get above it. Notice, see here how we just traded through here pretty damn easily? That's why there's no zone. If you have to have a zone, 2936. I didn't have to have a zone. I can just work off a delta. 2934, 36 upstairs is logical, although I didn't feel it was worthy of a zone based on what I saw in the profile. And then 39 to 41, this is the logical upside target. That's a naked volume point of control and a naked TPO point of control. Then finally, last week's high to get retested. But this is the logical target back up. And then, of course, you'll have some people trying to fill the gap there at 29.34. If you want to play gap fills, Mazel Tov, I think they're a 50-50 bet at best, and they usually get blown up. I wouldn't want to short it. So that's my 2 cents about that, guys. So now it's our time. Now it's our job to go back to work and let the trades set up for us the way they need to set up. I'll be trading copper this morning. If I can get a setup, I'll trade copper. I don't have one right now. I'm working on it. I think I don't have anything else to add. All right. There, notice that we came right up. See how we came right up on the 29.2475 and rejected off of it? So if that's a trade for you, I have no issue with that. Just decide, yeah, I can take the 2.5 point stop, or no, I can't. Right? And then see if it'll roll down. Again, NQ looks reasonably okay this morning. And I think we could have a rotation, a flat rotation in ES, meaning we don't go anywhere. We just balance between here and the high, but net go nowhere. And the money flows back over to NQ as it comes back and retests its high. That would be my best guess, right? Getting below value area low on both markets changes my scenario on that. Again, I anticipate chop and balance heading into the Fed because that's what we generally get. We get slow, grindy balance days. I would anticipate, and what I'd hope for is a push down into maybe 9. The best scenario we can have is that we get pushed down into that 10:30 area, and then we short squeeze up into the Fed announcement. That's the easiest trade there is on Fed day. You don't always get it. If they open up and hold up here, that'll be a challenge. Like I said, I thought this was a good potential short location to start the day. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Does anyone have any questions? I'm looking for breaks of key areas on big deltas, getting my big deltas at the lows or at the highs, right? Or getting big stretches so that when I take that trade, I'm not slamming into resistance almost immediately. And that's the part, guys that are struggling, that's the part that you're missing. You can't be one-dimensional in your decision-making process, and you've got to ask why your trades are failing, right? And that's the hard part. Yes, we're trading the deltas. Yes, we're trading order flow, but you got to look and ask what are other people trading? So yesterday, the last piece I'll come back to, right? Yesterday was a slow grind, and we pointed out that locals are in charge. When locals are in charge, 50, 60 retraces will get hit. Prior day's high, prior day's low, prior day's value areas will get hit. Prior day's point of controls will get hit. Holes in the profile will get hit. Everything gets hit when locals are in control because there's no institutional guy shoving a ton of volume down anyone's throat. So it all works, right? The guy who scalps each of those levels on a day like yesterday goes, woohoo, the market's great. Then he gets to a day where there's then he gets to a day where there is heavy institutional participation, and he goes, I don't understand. I took value area high and they blew it up. I took the gap fill, they blew it up. I took value area low and they blew it up. And that's because institutions don't care about those levels, right? They care about major support resistance levels, stretches, and putting big money to work over larger swaths of territory than we do. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. There's no bigger delta. You got to get above this guy to push. If you close above this guy, half, long to the upside would be the formula. And we're running right into VWAP. NQ still looks okay. It's above prior day's high from yesterday. We'll see if it can make a approach to 76.3375, which is last week's high. Guys on YouTube, thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Trade safe. Usually today, most big traders I know, day traders I know, skip non-farm payrolls. They skip the Fed because it's just too freaking difficult to gauge which trade will work big and which one will run you over. So that's my 2 cents on that. Anyways, back shortly, guys, and thank y'all for joining. Trade safe.